A stabbing at a Powell County apartment leads to a man being airlifted to the hospital.
Coming up, we'll take you to Nelson County, where a serious crash shut down a stretch of the Bluegrass Parkway for 11 hours.
Over 20 Kentucky schools had a drill today to prepare for an unlikely event they hope never happens.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at Noon.
Good afternoon from WKYT News. I'm Barbara Bailey.
I'm Bill Bryant. Here's what's happening at noon. Police are investigating a double stabbing in central Kentucky right now. 2
men were stabbed overnight at Pine Creek Apartments on Halls Lane in Powell County. One of them was flown to the hospital. WKYT's Victor Puente is in Stanton now with the latest. It's our top story at noon. Victor?
As far as we know, there haven't been any arrests in this case. Neighbors tell me a group of people were hanging out between apartments before this stabbing happened. The fight at the Pine Creek Apartments happened around midnight. Neighbors tell me at first a couple was arguing, but that eventually spilled over into another fight in a nearby park. They believe one of the men who was stabbed broke up a fight at the park and then came back to the apartments where he was attacked by a group. They say his attackers then ran from the area. A neighbor who didn't want to be identified said his injuries were pretty serious.
I seen him come this way, and that's when they attacked him here, and they stabbed him multiple times in the stomach, I think once in the face part, in the arm.
Dispatchers told us a second person was also stabbed, and we don't have the names of either men, so we haven't been able to get an update on their conditions. But we do know one of them was airlifted to the hospital. In Powell County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Now, Stanton police are handling the case, but the Sheriff's Department and Clay City Police also responded.
The Bluegrass Parkway is back open here at midday after a serious crash involving a tractor trailer. Police say a semi hauling a type of oil crashed around 9:30 last night in Nelson County between mile markers 21 and 25. The westbound lanes are back open, but the eastbound lanes are expected to be closed until about mid-afternoon. WKYT's Mark Barber is in Bardstown with more on the traffic impact there. Mark?
It was a morning of delays and detours for many drivers here in Nelson County. The major wreck on the Bluegrass Parkway shut down 4 miles of the highway for hours, causing major traffic trouble.
Had to go around everything, kind of make a big loop, so I've lost about a half an hour.
Caught in the backup, Dale McCauley is counting the minutes because he's on a deadline to make a delivery. The truck driver is one of many drivers who spent their morning finding a way around the Bluegrass Parkway. Around 9:30 last night, deputies say a truck driver from West Virginia crashed in a ditch near Bardstown. Crews were worried that the tanker would start leaking oil, but they say fortunately that did not happen. The serious wreck shut down a 4-mile stretch of the parkway for 11 hours. The westbound lanes opened around 8:30, but the eastbound lanes are still closed and will remain closed through mid-afternoon as crews work to clear the mangled tanker off the parkway. Drivers are trying to steer clear of the mess.
It's pretty rough for some folks. This is right now is school time traffic, and we have 3 high schools, 3 middle schools, and elementary schools. So there's a lot of folks that are going to be late this morning.
Deputies say the driver of the tanker was airlifted to a hospital in Louisville. Emergency management officials tell me he has a punctured lung and spleen. In Nelson County, Mark Barber, WKYT.
Mark, thank you. Deputies are hoping the driver will survive. They tell us he is in critical condition. We understand investigators are still trying to figure out what caused the crash.
Temperatures are slowly rising in the Bluegrass as we head through the afternoon with plenty of sunshine. And we can expect more of the same to end the work week. WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris is live in our First Alert Weather Center now. An early look at the forecast. Micah.
Well, we're in the 70s right now. Once we slide off into the rest of the afternoon, we'll be there in the lower 80s for virtually everybody. You can see 77 now in Danville, 73 over toward the far east, southeastern zones. We'll finish off at 82 degrees and also mostly sunny skies. We'll do it again tomorrow, Friday, but then changes come for the weekend. I'll get right into that in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you.
Well, more than 20 schools
More than 20 schools in 10 Kentucky counties held a practice drill this morning to ensure to know what students would do in case there's ever a rare chemical weapons incident. It's part of the Bluegrass Army Depot's annual Chemical Stockpile Emergency Preparedness Program. WKYT's Michelle Chamberlain is in Richmond with the story on that. Michelle?
2 chemical stockpiles remain in the United States, one at Colorado and the other right here in Madison County. Now today there was an exercise at Clark Moore's Middle School just in case there's ever a chemical accident at the depot.
And as you know, today we're doing our shelter in place.
Over 500 tons of chemical agents remain at the Bluegrass Army Depot just over 3 miles from the middle school. The chemicals consist of mustard, sarin, and VX liquids.
They've been called some of the most dangerous substances to man. If you do not take them seriously, they have the potential to rise up and bite you.
We are sheltering in place.
The middle school held a drill today. In an unlikely event, there is a chemical incident from the dangerous stockpile of chemical weapons.
Clark Moore's is sheltered in place, and at this time the system has been activated.
As part of the drill, the students are brought to particular areas of the building. The lockdown activates a positive pressure system that keeps the outside air out of the building, which eventually filters the inside air, hopefully keeping out any chemical agents.
You know, we hope it never happens. I mean, it is a concern, but we have to do what we have to do to keep our people safe.
The ultimate destruction of these chemical weapons is set to take place in 2023. In Madison County, Michelle Chamberlain, WKYT.
Clark Moore's Middle School is the closest education facility to the chemical weapons stockpile. A federal appeals court shot down another request by a defiant Rowan County clerk, Kim Davis. The court reiterated that Davis, quote, has not demonstrated a substantial likelihood of success in her legal bid to exempt her office from licensing same-sex marriages. Davis, an apostolic Christian, returned to work this week after being thrown in jail for contempt. She has one more request for reprieve pending before the federal appeals court. 3 candidates hoping to be Kentucky's next governor weighed in on the jailing of Kim Davis during the first televised debate. Republican Matt Bevin, Democrat Jack Conway, and Independent Drew Curtis went head-to-head at Bellarmine University in Louisville last night. And they had some differing opinions about the Davis controversy.
I put out a proposal back in July that would have prevented this entire carnival from taking place. And indeed, if we had leadership on the part of our current governor and our current attorney general, who's the chief law enforcer in this state, who cried before the camera and told us that he could not do his job some years ago, and in fact now has the audacity to tell Kim Davis that it's her job to do her job or quit. Where is the double standard in this?
And what I didn't want to do was waste hundreds of thousands of dollars defending a case that ultimately we weren't going to win. And not only have we lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, the lawyers on the other side are petitioning for millions of dollars now. And look, I think Kim Davis went to jail because she defied a federal court order. I have sympathy for her, but we are a nation of laws.
And I think you're both wrong. As the executive, you have an oath to uphold the laws of the land of your state, regardless of whether you believe in them or not. And you have to do it. Now, you can say it's stupid while you uphold the laws, but you must actually uphold the laws regardless of who the next governor.
The next debate will be for the lieutenant governor's race. Democrat Sandy Overly and Republican Janine Hampton will be facing off on September 23rd. That is at Midway University. The candidates for governor will square off again at EKU on October 25th. Now, if you missed last night's debate and you want to see it, we do have the entire thing posted at WKYT.com. It was an interesting evening.
Yes, it was.
Right. Later today, an Arts Review Board will hear from experts about the placement of some controversial Civil War statues and other historical markers in downtown Lexington.
The board is trying to decide what to do with the John Hunt Morgan statue, the John Breckinridge statue, and a marker detailing the history of the city's slave trade. All 3 symbols are near the old courthouse. Their placement was called into question following that deadly church shooting in South Carolina in June. Today's meeting is open to the public. It starts at 3 o'clock in the Government Center.